one thing we all have to deal with, especially if you're creative and you're a writer, the biggest issue I've ever had to deal with is writer's block. So imagine like a world or a writing session where you could just effortlessly go from one line to the next and the next and the next and the next, and just until you've got your 1,000 words down for the day or 2,000 words down for the day. Or if you are slightly lazy like I am, maybe 500 words. I still consider 500 words to be good words, because for me it's not about the volume, it's about the quality of the writing. So you could write 2,000 words a day. I've heard of some authors writing 10,000 words in a session. For me, the quality would be really, really heavily impacted. So I prefer to stick to 500. On a good day, I could do 2,000, and that's a really good day. But I rarely ever go more than that, because I start to struggle after a while. But on the days where I'm unable to write, what is really going on, first of all? And how do I deal with it? How do I deal with the writer's block? And how do I sort of figure out the difference between true writer's block and procrastination? Now, first of all, I want to say that these are my opinions. This is how I deal with things. This is not there's no clear-cut method to dealing with any of these issues. You have to figure out your way. But this is how I deal with writer's block when it does happen to me. First of all, I don't think writer's block is as simple as we've been led to believe. Because there's writer's block and then there's avoidance, or you could also call it procrastination. Right? Procrastination is when you're putting off the writing. Avoidance is when you're avoiding writing altogether. Writer's block, in my opinion, is when nothing is coming to mind. Now, I've gotten writer's block after huge writing sessions where I've powered through and I've written some really heavy stuff. I've usually filled out my word count for the day, and my resources are depleted, and then I just can't put anything more down on the page. I'm out of fuel, I'm out of ideas, I'm just out, I'm just done, and I need to recharge and refuel again. Whilst avoidance, in my opinion, is genuinely avoiding the work. You're avoiding anything to do with writing. The ideas are there, but for some reason, you can't seem to put them down on paper. Now, I believe, this is my opinion, I believe avoidance has to do with imposter syndrome, where you have all these ideas, but you're avoiding putting them down, and you tell yourself, oh, it's writer's block. It's not writer's block. You are afraid of putting ideas down, writing what you really want to write, because in your head, somewhere, you don't feel that you're good enough to do it. You don't feel you're a writer. You feel like writing is about being a bestseller list, interviews, big flashy billboards, having your books on the front row of bookstores. When you walk into the bookstore, you're on the big shelves and all the big tables, and all your books are listed there. That, to some people, is what writing is. So if they're sort of in the corner of their bedroom working on stories, and maybe there are only 50 people are reading it, or 20 people, excuse the noise. There is so much noise here today, and people are revving their engines, and it's just so uncouth and so irritating. So even if you're writing for a small audience of 20, 30 people, 5 people, I don't care, you are still a writer, because if people are picking up your work and enjoying it and reading through it, and they're genuinely enjoying the story, it doesn't matter. When I was a kid, I considered myself a writer, and I realized very quickly that I was a writer because I just had to tell stories. I had to write stories down. I had to write books. I had to put my ideas down on paper. I had to create these worlds. I had to craft all these worlds. So I genuinely believe that I was a writer. Even though I wasn't sending anything off, I wasn't submitting anything to anyone else, I just became a writer. So you have to deal with the psychological aspect. You have to deal with the imposter syndrome side of things if you're avoiding writing. You have to deal with the psychological avoidance that you're going through. You also have to deal with any environmental factors that are causing you to avoid writing. Environmental factors, in my opinion, are things such as, your parents, your neighbors, noise. Maybe you're not in a comfortable enough space. Maybe you're sharing a bedroom with your annoying older brother, your younger sister who's annoying as well, and you just don't feel you have the capacity to write. You don't have the capacity to get your words down on paper. And I say to those factors that you just have to find a way. Because I feel that if you do not get into the habit of getting your words down on paper, and you don't get into the habit of channeling the frustration you're feeling and getting it into words and onto paper, then it's just wasted effort. It's just a waste of all those wonderful ideas and all those wonderful stories that you could be telling. Now, in terms of writer's block and avoidance, both aspects can affect you long term. They can affect your creativity, and they can affect the ideas you have. And what I've done is, in the past, and this was very early on in my life, when I was I felt I had to shelve writing and do something more productive for society, because I'm from a Nigerian family, and I was everyone's a lawyer or something important, and I fell into the trap of believing at that period that it wasn't so important. Now I don't think that way anymore. Now I've gotten rid of the words, like the bad words in my head. But you have to learn to deal with the writer's block. Even if that means that you figure out what's going on and you find ways of dealing with it, whether that's waking up early in the morning, starting to write early in the morning. If you find writing is hard, as soon as you wake up, your feet hit the floor, you pull the bed covers off, just turn to your desk, just grab your laptop, whatever your tool is, whether it's a pen, paper, laptop, whatever, whether it's a dictaphone, whether you like to record onto it, and start writing, because you need to get those ideas out when they're fresh in your head. Now, how do I get ideas for writing? My first go-to is I can't write when I'm tired. If I'm tired, I'm emotional, I've been up for a long time, ideas come to me when I'm very, very relaxed. I'm very relaxed, I'm in a very happy place, and I allow my thoughts to wander. So when I'm relaxed, I tend to observe a lot more in my environment. I look at trees, plants, people, something as mundane or as strange as a person's shoes or the way a person moves, that can spark ideas in my head. So I have to be very relaxed, first of all. I have to be in a very dreamy state of mind. And a dreamy state of mind is when I just start daydreaming. That's when the ideas come. Then, I love music. I love to listen to music as a form of relaxation, and I love to listen to music in terms of igniting ideas in my head. I have a fantasy music playlist that I listen to on YouTube. This playlist is long, it's about 10 hours long, and the music on it is epic. I listen to a certain bands such as 7 Steps from Hell. 7 Steps from Hell? Yeah, 7 Steps from Hell. I think that's, yeah. And I have so many others. And they're all amazing because within 5 minutes of playing one track, you're just taken away. You're in another place. You're no longer in your bedroom. I'm no longer in this space. I'm just somewhere far away. And music has a way of just reaching into your soul and grabbing you and taking you on this journey. Learn to create your own playlist. Whether you're writing an action, a thriller, you're a fantasy writer, you're a romance writer, you need something that will help you escape. For me, it's a fantasy playlist. It never fails. Now, I have to be physically mobile. All right? I have to be able to physically get myself to relax, whether it's walking, cycling. I am not a jogger. I hate jogging. Walking, cycling, skating. I love skating as well. That relaxes me. I have to do something physical because sometimes I have so much pent up energy in my body. I have so much just, this rotating energy, and I don't know what to do with it. And because it's all pent up and it's just built up in my body, I can't release it, so I just need something to do. And once I go for a cycle, I do all that, I come back, I'm just relaxed. All the anxiety is gone, and I can sit down, put on my fantasy playlist, and I'm away with the fairies. As I've said before on this channel, I also have 5-minute writing sprints. I love my 5-minute writing sprints. And it's where I just set a timer, I give a verbal command to my computer or my phone or whatever's around, and it's very quick, where I just hit my alarm clock, and I say 5-minute timer, and I just sit there, and then I just start writing. So it's kind of like forcing myself to write. Just say it, 5-minute timer, sit down, start writing. And that 5 minutes will go on for 45 minutes. And in 45 minutes, I've got new ideas, I've created new characters, I've developed plot lines, I've created just a new world, a new idea. And that 5 minutes can become a 45-minute writing session. It can become a 2-hour writing session. But the important thing is you actually start writing. I also believe your environment is important. Now, I know it's easy for me to say have a space to write, but you do have to have something. A writing nook, a corner of your bedroom, just no matter how small your space is, you can always find a space to write. When I used to work in London, I would get my laptop out or my phone out on the train or on the bus or during my commute, and I would just start typing. I would actually get my notepad out and start writing. Obviously, I got lots of strange looks because a lot of people are not comfortable watching you write when they're around. I don't know. They feel like it's about them. I don't know what's going on. People are very strange. There's a lot going on with people at the moment, but you just have to ignore people and just do what you need to do. Whether you're more comfortable typing on your phone or you're more comfortable speaking into a dictaphone, that might be harder because lots of people are around, so you're going to capture all sorts of noise. One thing I used to do when I would walk my dogs, because we like to go on these 2-hour walks, was that I would get my phone out, hit record, and just start talking into my phone about ideas I had, and I would speak in my characters' voices. I would never do it on camera because it's mortifying, but I would speak in the voices of my characters. And believe it or not, this is almost 2 years later. I'm still typing up everything I had on my phone because I'm still transcribing it onto my computer, because that was how much I got in terms of ideas and in terms of just progressing the story. So whichever way you can think of to get your ideas down, if you don't have the luxury of coming home and being able to sit for 3 hours, that's fine. Any way you can, because every little helps. And if you just develop a habit of writing daily, and whether it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, just develop that habit. And once you've done it consistently for a while, it just becomes a habit, and you cannot get away from it. I will also say you have to switch off all the digital stuff. So I will occasionally I've struggled, I'm going to be honest, these last few weeks. What I've done is gotten a friend or a cousin or a family member to take away my phone, take away everything, and I just sit there with my laptop. And my internet is cut off, and I just write, and it's amazing. And I do think that in terms of all the gadgets we have, and all the distractions that come from the gadgets, they do cause a lot of issues. They do stifle our creativity. They distract us, and that's why a lot of the time now my phone is on do not disturb. It doesn't ring, no notifications come through on it, it's just completely silent. And for me, that's given me a lot of peace of mind, and I've been doing that now for about a year with do not disturb, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. If I'm expecting a message, when I used to teach, I was cognizant enough to check the phone intermittently to see if there had been a cancellation or something had changed or there had been a change of plan. That's fine. But in terms of being constantly on the phone, constantly on the laptop, constantly on something, I just stopped doing that. And it helped my productivity immensely. And lastly, I would say keep track of your word count. Because start with start with 0. That's where you're starting, right? 0 words. And then just see how your words increase gradually. And I think just seeing how much momentum you're gaining, how much your book is developing or your story is developing is amazing to witness. And what I tend to do is I tend to just have a quick read through. If I've got a certain chunk of words, like maybe 30,000, 40,000 words, I just have a read through. And it's amazing reading your own work back because you realize you've developed a story. You have the bones of a really good story, and you just have to just fill it with meat and all the other stuff and just make it a good chunky story. And there you go. I hope these ideas have helped in some way. And if you want to start with anything, start with something as simple as your phone. Put it on do not disturb mode and just start typing if you're a typer, or grab a sheet of paper and start writing if you want to handwrite. And let me know how it goes in the comments. Love you all. Goodbye.